Hello students, good morning. Welcome to our today's class.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am. Can I come in?
Why are you late, Jimmy? You must give me a reason.
I was late because I failed to catch my bus on time, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay, Jimmy, but see to that you don't repeat this again.
Okay, ma'am.
Students, you know what? Each and every one of us need to explain a situation for someone to understand. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Even today, when Jimmy came late, I asked him why he was late. Only when he explained and reasoned out, I was able to understand why he was late. In the same way, it's very important to reason out and explain. Does anyone of you here know what is important to reason out and to explain?
Ma'am, I think adverbs are helpful to reason out. Isn't it, ma'am?
Yes, Jenny, you are right. Adverbs are helpful to reason out, but to explain in detail, adverb clauses are more helpful. So, in today's class, I'm going to teach you about adverb clauses. So, now let's start with our class. So, the topics to be discussed today are: what is an adverb, definition of an adverb clause, requirements of an adverb clause, what are subordinating conjunctions, and finally, you'll have some exercises. So, first, let's see what are adverbs. An adverb describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb and answers the questions below. So, an adverb basically describes. It answers to questions like how often, when, and where. The answers for them are given below the questions given. For example, the boy plays the drums loudly. The boy plays the drums is what he is doing. But to describe more and give more information, they say that the boy plays the drums loudly. And that is the work of an adverb. So now I hope you would have understood what is an adverb. Let's move on. What is an adverb clause? So the definition of an adverb clause is: an adverb clause is a subordinate or a dependent clause that modifies a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. So adverb clause is also a dependent clause. A dependent clause basically depends on the main clause. Here we see that an adverb clause is here to modify and give more meaning or explanation for the given sentence. Like an adverb clause also tells us, gives us information about where, when, how, why, to what extent, or under what condition. So these are the questions to which an adverb clause answers. To see in detail about adverb clause, I'm going to give you a few important points. Number 1, adverb clauses are a group of words which are used to add explanatory detail. So they give more detail to what they are describing. Secondly, they are dependent clauses and cannot stand alone. Thirdly, just like all the other dependent clauses, an adverb clause also contain a subject and a verb. So they will have a subject and a verb when they are formed. And finally, and the most important one is, an adverb clause can be placed at the beginning, middle, or end of a sentence. So these are the three places where an adverb clause can be placed. When placed at the beginning or in the middle, they require a comma to offset them from the rest of the sentence. So here we come to know that when an adverb clause is placed at the beginning or in the middle, they will have a comma to separate them from the main clause and show them. So I hope you would have understood about adverb clause better through these points. So point number 1 you need to remember is they will have a subject and a verb, and they can be placed in the beginning, middle, or at the end. So moving on, let's see the requirements of an adverb clause. Requirement number 1. It will answer one of the 4 adverb questions. So an adverb clause will answer one of the 4 questions given below. It will be answering how, or when, or where, or why. The adverb clause answers any one of these questions. So when we find them having a subject and a verb, you can easily find them answering any one of the question. Requirement number 2. It is necessary for an adverb clause to have a subordinating conjunction to connect with the main clause. So requirement number 2 is they will have a subordinating conjunction. So without a subordinating conjunction, they won't be able to connect with the main clause. So an adverb clause will definitely have a subordinating conjunction. So what are the requirements? They will have a subject and a verb. They will be answering any 4 of the following questions, that is how, when, where, and why. And thirdly, they will have a subordinating junction. Conjunctions for sure. So let's move on. You might be wondering, what are subordinating conjunctions? So I'm going to list out a few subordinating conjunctions. After, although, as if, as long as soon as though, because, before, if, in order that, provided that, since, so that, than, though, unless, until, when, whenever, where, wherever, and whether. These are few subordinating conjunctions. So, just like first, when the teacher asked why Jimmy was late, Jimmy answered with a because. Here we see that because is a subordinating conjunction. So, thus, it is evident that an adverb clause will definitely contain a subordinating conjunction. So, I hope you would have understood what is an adverb clause. To test your knowledge, here are 10 sentences. Let's find out which is the main clause and which is the adverb clause. First one, When spring arrives, the flowers bloom. Yes, the first part when spring arrives is the adverb clause, and the second part, the flowers bloom, is the main clause. Second, the poor woman had no money because she had lost her job. Yes, the first part is the main clause and the second part is the adverb clause. So here you see a subordinating conjunction, she as a subject and had the verb. Moving on to the next. He came after night had fallen. Yes, here it's one full line where we see he came after night had fallen. It is a adjective clause because it has a subordinating conjunction. Fourth, no one can run as fast as Usain Bolt. So the second part, as fast as Usain Bolt, is the adverb clause and the first part is the main clause. Moving on to the fifth, we played in the garden until sunset. Yes, here till garden it is the main clause and until sunset is the adverb clause. Sixth, unless you are sick, you must come to school. Yes, unless you are sick is the adverb clause and you must come to school is the main clause. 7. Monica was dictating while Ruby was writing. Yes, here the first part is the main clause while the following, while Ruby was writing, is the adverb clause. 8th one, although he is small, he is strong. Yes, the first part is the adverb clause and the second part is the main clause. You may sit wherever you wish. Here also the first one is the main clause and the second part, wherever you wish, is the adverb clause. He is older than his sister. Same way, the first part is the main clause and the second part, that is than his sister, is the adverb clause. Here in every adverb clause, if you see, as soon as you see the subordinating conjunction, you will be able to see a subject and a verb. So I hope all of you have a clear understanding of what is an adverb clause now. So I want you all to quickly go to our Google Classroom and fill in the activity form put up in the Google Classroom. What are the words we commonly use to describe a place, thing, or a person? So below are two boxes in which I have put in few of the words with which I will describe a place, thing, or a person. We would say that place was beautiful or she was beautiful. She was thin, he was fat, he was handsome. The kitten was cute, the squirrel was small, the elephant was big, and so on, right? You know what we use to describe all these things? To describe a place, thing, or a person, we need an adjective. In some cases, we may fail to describe the person, place, or the thing in just one word. So, we will be in need of something called the adjective clause. This may sound new to you. Yes, don't worry. Today, we are going to see what are adjective clause in detail. Before we look at adjective clauses, we are going to look at few more too. So the topics to be discussed today are what are adjectives along with their types, what is an adjective clause, difference between adjective and adjective clause, and the components of adjective clause. So let's move on. Adjective. Adjectives are words that describe a noun. Adjectives are also known as describing words. So they basically describe, so they're known as describing words. Adjectives can come before a noun, immediately after a noun, or they come after noun and in between there will be a linking word. So they may come in three places. The first one is attribute adjective. That is the one which goes before the noun. So like here we see juicy, pure. Pure is the noun and the adjective is juicy, which comes before the noun. Second is the predicative adjectives. This goes before a noun and complete with the help of a linking word. So Tina is angry. So in the middle of the noun and the adjective, there is a linking word. So the third one is post-positive adjective. This is the one which goes immediately after the noun. Like the example, something scary. So here we see it coming just after the noun given here. So I hope you're clear with adjective. They are just one word which can go before the noun, immediately after the noun, or after the noun with a linking verb in between. So now let's see what are adjective clauses. Adjective clause. An adjective clause is a dependent clause that follows a noun. So they are a dependent clause. They can't stand alone. It is used to describe the noun in a sentence. So they're not just one word. They are used in a sentence. It is made up of several words which, like all clauses, will include a subject and a verb. Before, in the adjective part, we saw that it's just one word describing the noun. But here, adjective clause are several words which describe, and it says that adjective clause has a subject and a verb. The words work together to modify the noun. So they work together to give more meaning to the noun. Okay, so difference between adjective and adjective clause. Many of you might be confused about what is the difference between them. So let's see. The first one. The angry tiger snarled at me. So here, this adjective is coming before the noun, that is the tiger. It says that the tiger is angry. So this word, just one word description, is adjective. Moving on to the next one. The tiger that was angry snarled at me. So here we can't know in a sentence that was angry. So here when it comes as a sentence describing the tiger and the snarl that it gave at that person, it is an adjective clause. So let's see what are the components of an adjective clause, or in short, what are needed to make a full adjective clause. So the first one is an adjective clause will start with a relative pronoun or a relative adverb. So what is a relative pronoun? They are who, whom, whose, that and which. Relative pronoun or who, whom, whose, that and which. And relative adverb are when, where and why. When, where and why. So an adjective clause will start with a relative pronoun or a relative adverb. Without these, an adjective clause wouldn't start. So secondly, it will have a subject and a verb. Like in the example given below, the rat that John saw yesterday was in the kitchen earlier. So the relative pronoun used here is that. So it has a subject and a verb. And the information is about the noun, that is the rat. So that John saw yesterday is the adjective clause. So it has a subject and a verb and starts with a relative pronoun or a relative adverb. I hope you understand what is a adjective clause. Now it's exercise time. So let's modify the sentence by adding adjective clause. These sentences are in the form of by adding adjective. So we are going to make it an adjective clause. First one, I have a black hat. Second one, the broken doll is in the shelf. Third one, my mother has got a very expensive gift. Fourth one, the man I met was very tall. She had a sharp knife. So here, first one is talking about the hat. It says it is black. Second one is talking about the noun doll, which is broken. Third one is talking about the gift, which is expensive. Fourth one is talking about the man who is tall. Fifth one is talking about the knife, which was sharp. So how would you add an adjective clause to this? Let's see. First one, I have a hat that is black. So here that takes the place of the noun hat, and it has a verb, and it starts with a relative pronoun. Secondly, The doll, which was broken, is in the shelf. Then my mother has a gift which is very expensive. Fourth one, I met a man who was very tall. Fifth, the knife that she had was very sharp. So, just like how the first one had a subject, relative pronoun, and a verb, every single sentence has a subject, a verb, and a relative pronoun or a relative adverb with which it would have started. I hope you would have seen in these examples. So I'm sure you would have understood the difference between an adjective and an adjective clause. And now I'm sure you will be able to change the sentence from having just the adjective to an adjective clause. So, as soon as you finish watching this video lecture, I want you to go to our Google Classroom and fill in the activity form that is given based on the adjective clause. That's all for today's class, students. Thank you for listening. Take care. See you in our next class.